All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are really digging into something fascinating, Italy's brand new pioneering law on artificial intelligence.
Okay, so right off of the bat, the source material we're looking at throws a flag on the play. It's about the language. See this quote? The point is, we should be talking about artificial intelligences, plural, like a whole bunch of different tools, right? But Italy's new law, it just says artificial intelligence, singular. And the analysis we're following argues this shows a huge misunderstanding from the very beginning. It's like they're picturing this one giant scary machine instead of what it really is.
This law was getting all kinds of praise. It was seen as this huge step forward, putting Italy way ahead of the curve on AI rules. But man, the source material we're digging into kind of raises an eyebrow and asks, is this really as cutting edge as it seems? Or is there something else going on here?
Okay, let's get into the weeds a bit. We're going to look at what the law says it wants to do, and then see how the analysis from our source just completely picks it apart.
So the law's purpose is packed with what our source calls beautiful words. I mean, look at them. Correct, transparent, responsible, and this one, anthropocentric. They sound fantastic, don't they? But the whole point of this analysis is that once you actually try to apply them, they just fall apart.
So let's start with correct use. The analysis jumps right on this one. I mean, think about it. These tools are built to be personal. They work best when they're customized just for you. So, how in the world do you define one single correct way to use them for everybody? It just doesn't make sense. It's like a total contradiction. And then there's transparency. This slide really nails the problem. Our source uses this great analogy of a tractor. You can pop the hood, take it apart, look at the manual. You can see exactly how it works. But an AI model, especially one with billions of dollars poured into it, that's a black box. If you made it transparent, showed everyone the secret source code and all the data it trained on, poof, its entire commercial value would just disappear. Okay, but the term that really seems to baffle the source is anthropocentric, human-centered. The analysis basically asks, what does that even mean here? I mean, are we really saying we need a law to declare that a technology made by humans should be designed to work for humans? It's just bizarre. It's like passing a law that says chairs should be for sitting.
I mean, think about it. Did we ever pass a law saying the Walkman had to be human-centered? Or what about writing itself? Plato was worried about it. The point is, new tech always causes a bit of a panic. People get worried. But writing it into law like this, the analysis argues it's not just weird, it's totally unnecessary.
So here's where it gets really interesting. According to the analysis, all this vague language isn't just confusing. No, it actually opens the door to something much, much bigger and potentially more dangerous.
So check out this clause from the law. On the surface, it sounds totally reasonable, right? Must not prejudice democratic conduct. I mean, who wouldn't agree with that? But the source argues that because it's so incredibly vague, it creates this huge loophole for basically arbitrary censorship.
And to prove the point, the author of our source material actually ran a little experiment. They gave an AI a very specific and deliberately provocative prompt. It's about the No TAV movement, which is a pretty famous and long-running protest movement in Italy.
And look, the AI just spits out this piece of fiction, no problem. So here's the million-dollar question from the source. If you take this text and, say, write a story with it, or maybe even make a protest flyer, is that prejudicing democratic life? And more importantly, who gets to decide? The law gives us absolutely no clue.
And this all leads to what is maybe the most powerful argument in the whole analysis. This law, by trying to regulate a machine that uses language, is essentially trying to regulate language itself. And the real kicker? The irony? It's coming from a political class that has spent years complaining that you can't say anything anymore.
Okay, so let's shift gears and see how this abstract stuff starts to have very real consequences. We're talking about professionals, people who use their brains for a living. Think lawyers, doctors, engineers, writers.
All right, take a look at the actual text from the law. It's a lot. It's that dense legalese that's almost impossible to read. It's confusing, right? Well, the author of our source thought so too, and they did something pretty clever. They just asked an AI to explain it in simple terms.
And boom, so much clearer. The AI says, basically, AI is just a helper. The human has to do the main work. Simple enough. But then the analysis asks this brilliant, simple question. What professional actually wants to hand over their entire job to a machine? Nobody. You use tools to help you, to make you better, not to replace your own brain.
So, according to the analysis, this whole clause is basically unenforceable. Think about it. It puts this massive burden on professionals to somehow prove that their human work was prevalent over the AI's. But how? How do you even measure that? The law gives absolutely no guidance. It's just a bureaucratic nightmare waiting to happen. And if you think that's confusing, just wait. We're not done yet. According to the source, the place where this law gets truly absurd is when we start talking about copyright. To really understand the mess we're in, the source tells this absolutely wild and totally true story about a monkey named Naruto. So get this. A photographer sets up his camera equipment. A monkey, Naruto, wanders over and snaps this amazing selfie. Then an animal rights group sues the photographer, claiming the monkey owns the copyright. And the final verdict from a U.S. court? Since the author isn't human, the photo belongs to literally no one. It's public domain. This whole story is the perfect example of how completely unprepared our legal systems are for this stuff, and it perfectly sets the stage for what Italy's new law does. Okay, so what does the new Italian law do? It changes the copyright law. It basically adds one little word, human. So now it protects works of human ingenuity. And it even says that's okay if you used AI tools to help. Seems reasonable, right? So far, so good. But, and this is a huge but, it adds that same fuzzy condition we saw before. The work has to be the result of the author's intellectual work. And right there, that's the trap. The source argues it creates this inescapable paradox for anyone trying to create something new. Okay, so here's the whole paradox laid out. On one hand, there's this big argument that AI steal copyrighted material to train themselves. But then, on the other hand, if a human artist uses that same AI as a tool to create a brand new piece of art, this law could come along and say, nope, not enough human intellectual work went into that. And just like that, the human creator gets stripped of their copyright. You see the problem? It's a total catch-22. You lose either way.
Ultimately, the conclusion from this source is pretty stark. It calls the Italian AI law a gigantic waste of time, a law that says way more about our own fears of this new technology than it does about any real understanding of it. And that leaves us with a massive question, one that isn't just for Italy, but for all of us. Can we, or even should we, be trying to write laws for technologies that we just don't fundamentally understand yet?